The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 seconds, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists, Dan Eve, the Crypto Raptor,
Howdy, folks.
Martine Wishmare from General Bytes,
Howdy ho.
and I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on to issue 1. Issue 1, crypto exchange, their name is Binance, new emoji, looks like a swastika, and people are losing it. All right, well, let's go ahead and cut through the story right here. This is the emoji. So Binance paid a whole bunch of money to Twitter to put this after their name. So every time you mentioned Binance or hashtag Binance, this amazing little emoji would show up. Obviously, the emoji would be a lot smaller when it showed up. But unfortunately, when you magnify it, it looks like this. Dan, Eve, what do you think about Binance's interesting marketing campaign? The emoji also released on 420, which is Adolf Hitler's birthday. Was Binance trying to say something? Was this just all a bunch of mistakes? Would you just laugh this off? What do you think about Binance? Go ahead, Dan.
Well, I think that it does obviously look like a swastika, but then it also looks like the ancient kind of Buddhist symbol, and obviously Binance is a kind of an Eastern company, or at least founded there with CZ Binance. But you'd think that maybe they'd know that kind of by now anything swastika looking, even if it used to be a peace symbol, would go down like a ton of bricks, right? There's been some pretty funny memes though about it, and puns. I think it was like Crypto Cred was like, something's not right about this, and and then there's been some really like sinister ones about Binance and distributing gas and all sorts. And there's been it's been definitely not been taken very well by the public. They immediately apologized because obviously the logo sunk like a broken ship. But but I don't know. I don't think anything sinister sort of was done. I think it was just one of those real goofball things that no one even realized that it kind of looked like a swastika. They may, I don't even. I think if it had even got pointed out, someone would have gone, "Oh!" As soon as one person goes, "Hang on, it looks like a." If you turn it a bit, it looks like a swastika. And although it's got thin lines and then squares on the edges, to make it different, I don't think they would have sat there debating it, going, "Well, it does look quite a bit different to the swastika." But obviously, pure coincidence. It happened on 420, which is Hitler's birthday. I thought that was a joke, first of all, but obviously, it definitely apparently was Hitler's birthday. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think it was done on purpose, but it was a big mistake, and someone's getting a bit of a slap wrist for it.
I do want to start off going back to the graphic here. The general Binance logo kind of looks like the Eye of Ra. So we're already starting with some pretty negative iconography here and some pretty blind ideas. It is possible, like Dan says, that this could be just a mistake. Computer graphics people see these as circuit boards. They're not that familiar with history. To see this passed up the whole chain of command at Binance through the graphics guys, the marketing guys, and then this is a pretty big deal because this is your Twitter icon, right? You're going to have a little icon behind your Twitter. Why wouldn't they just go with the Binance logo, which, again, looking at it, looks a lot like the Ethereum logo, which looks a lot like the Volcom skateboards logo. So I don't think we're seeing much originality here in logos. But to choose, of all logos, the swastika, the Indian Hindu symbol of peace, which we all know from World War II, and is still popular and active today, unfortunately. And like Dan said, yes, 420 is celebrated now mainly by stoners, but originally, and to a certain group of people, it's a wink and a nod. And I don't know why Binance would want to nod and wink towards those people. Hopefully, I think is the next story we're going to read that everyone in cryptocurrency is a Nazi. They had that story where they said everyone in cryptocurrency is a psychopath and has the dark triad. So we're just a step away from that. But, National Socialism, at least it's an ethos. Martine Wishmayer, what do you think about Binance, their very interesting marketing campaign? Is it possible this is all just an intentional hoax to trick everyone into talking about it, to trick people into getting mad, and to trick you from, saying the word Binance 100 times?
I don't know. It did give them a lot of free mentions, even in Vice and stuff. So I don't know, even though it's very in a negative way, negative publicity is also publicity. What I find hard to believe is that there's people like the graphic designers, they don't design it as such a tiny little icon. They have like a blown up full screen, design. So it especially if you blow it up to some proportion, it does clearly show that it's like, it resembles a little bit a circuit board, but it resembles a swastika even more. So I find there's something wrong there with marketing, or nobody dares to say, I don't like it. If the big boss says, I like it, then nobody dares to stand up. So they all say, yes, 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 which is like wrong then in the organization. But then it is also approved by Twitter, and, Twitter has people working there too. So it's just crazy. I missed it totally until you mentioned it in the chat earlier on. This definitely is wrong logo. And I think this is also like many companies, they have a logo because of a logo. They need to have a logo because they are a company. But the number of really awful logos out there is just staggering. At General Bytes, we don't have a logo. We just have GB. General Bytes. That's it. We're not in the business of making logos. We're in the business of making Bitcoin ATMs. And I think, Binance, they're not in the business of making logos either, but they've got the budget to create something nice. So this just looks weird. Yeah,
you're right. The Twitter, it got past Twitter as well, because it wasn't just a logo. It was a hashtag related thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, emoji. I never knew you could actually pay money and then get Twitter to adopt emoji, but you'd expect the people at Twitter programming it, developing it, or just copy pasting it into the code to also have a look at it and say, hang on, there's something a bit off with this one. So it's probably a mistake, but a mistake by I think at least 50 people.
It's so bad. It seems like it's a comedy bit. You can picture the graphic designer, like Martine was saying, is like, it kind of looks like a swastika. And you're like, oh, but it also looks like a circuit board. And you're like, yeah, but it also kind of looks like a swastika. And they're like, oh, that's fine, right? Or maybe it's like a joke, like how far we can push it. And they're both like, he, like hide the swastikas in there. But what kind of people are you employing that aren't seeing this? And I agree with Martine as well. Like Twitter not gatekeeping this, especially with Twitter's already bad reputation for hate accounts for Nazis, literal fucking Nazis. Like, can you just have the swastika behind your name, like hashtag like Third Reich, and it comes up Nazi symbol because I paid Twitter X amount of dollars? Is that obviously Elon Musk? I don't know. Maybe he would allow that. That's free speech, right? That's what Elon Musk talks about. That would be the unfettered free speech of Twitter. We're being held back. And we're going to held back more in the exit question. Obviously, in reality, nothing's going to happen. No heads are going to roll. Nobody's going to get mad. Everybody's going to say, whoopsie doodle. We accidentally pushed the swastika key on our graphic design keyboard, and everyone in the line approved it. But in a more accountable world, who would you fire? Would you fire the graphic designers, the advertising people, the executive people, the Twitter people? Dan, Eve, who are you going to fire?
It may be controversial, but I wouldn't fire anyone. If I believe that it's about intent, and if you could prove intent that it was done on purpose, then maybe someone should get fired. But if it was a mistake, and bearing in mind, like it does have specifically the dot that the original peace symbol had, right? It has the dots on there in the background of the thing, and it's not on the rotation of the swastika, it's the rotation of the original. So I don't know. I would only fire someone if there was intent, rather than, if it's a mistake. People make mistakes all the time, and also the World War, although it was a world war, certain cultures, it's also their peace symbol that's been commandeered. So you're turning around and saying, so and so, you can't have your peace symbol because the Nazis over the other side of the world used it 90 years ago. So I don't know. I'm a bit more lenient when it comes to that. And I think that unless there's intent, then and you can prove intent, then I don't think anyone should be fired. It was just a good.
See, it's a bit odd to hear the rare Pepe argument coming out of a company and marketing when there's no reason at all to go even close to this. They're like, do you think it kind of looks like a swastika? And they're like, yeah, it kind of does. Maybe we shouldn't do that. Instead, it's like, we're going to push back. We're going to reclaim the peace symbol for our culture. This is a step forward that Binance wants to take. And I agree with Martin for earlier with the Binance logo. A nice bee, like a yellow bee, that would be oh, hey, wait a minute. It's a bee. You could have a mascot that's a bee. And now you're Binance. You have a bee mascot, and you're not like a bunch of bastards, as currently people think about Binance, who just run around not paying taxes everywhere. But I don't know, maybe the swastika thing. I still don't. I imagine, Dan, I can only imagine in the office, like there's a graphic designer and he's got a bunch of tattoos and one of them is the Hindu symbol for peace. And you're like, surely that guy didn't do this by accident. Like, surely he, I wonder what his intentions were, because it's so strange, so out there that I really do question, like, were they making a point? Like, are they intentionally ignorant of the entire Second World War? I want to put that out there. Like, that's a horrifying, I don't know what kind of educational system was like, learn how to Photoshop. Don't learn, like, even the smallest detail about the Second World War, the kind of thing you think would come up, especially in a design class. Like, a Photoshop person would be like, learn about the design of the uniforms. Bruno, what is it? God, Hugo Boss. Hugo Boss. No, that was close. Hugo Boss. Martin, what do you think? Who would you fire? Are they perhaps intentionally ignorant of the entire Second World War?
I think there's something off with the marketing and the graphics design, also at Twitter, but I probably use this as a good excuse to replace them all. Just, hire a real marketing company, just fire them all. Don't fire them. Just
well, and what's wrong at Binance that they're still employing this level of person? Is it this is this shadowy corporation that moves around? They can't get serious people that know about World War II. Shouldn't that just be common sense? Like, I mean,
how much history do you have to know about?
They got like money to manage.
At least a little bit of history.
It is a large company, and as such, I think they should have a professional marketing and department, which I think they do have. So how did they goof up? I don't know. There's something wrong, and instead of just trying to find out who was responsible, just keep it easy. Everybody whose email was in a carbon copy of the approval document is fired. You just have to do one reply to all, and then just like, sorry, but you've been replaced. And it might also be a good chance to reinvent the company's marketing. Maybe just something off anyway. I mean, the logo doesn't look very appealing. And they probably paid for the design, which is, but for the rest, it's a huge company, with the cards and all. They got an entire shitcoin circus dressed up. So it's like, they got all these different coins. They're doing great revenue. I mean, they're doing good. So why not, spend a little bit of extra effort on the marketing? So yeah, to answer your question, fire them all. Don't fire them, just don't extend their contract. Sounds friendlier.
I agree with Martin. I would fire everyone in the email chain, everyone who signed off of it. And again, there's got to be sign-offs on this. This is your Twitter logo. It's a very big deal. And yes, I would rebrand Binance to have the yellow and black, have a bee, have a cartoon bee. You hang out at the hive. You're all a bunch of bees. Like there's a queen bee. There's just so much great metaphor there. Have some fun with it. Be a giant corporation. Don't act like this small corporation that hasn't heard of World War II. I want to take a second here and talk about this from Binance's point of view. Obviously, if you're Binance and you're the most important company in the world and you're above paying taxes and you're above following rules and you just want to kind of like do your Binance thing, then maybe they really were like reclaiming the swastika from history. And maybe they're just going to rewrite history, and things like Tiananmen Square and Auschwitz and other things just won't exist in this future because all these kids will know is Binance. All you really need to know is you can get your crypto there and trade crypto. Fortune favors the bold, and other slogans. It's just so the entire company, even like at the top, like the executive guy who was like, I'm going to sign off on our Twitter logo that kind of looks like a swastika. I would fire that guy too. Like, even though he's your best friend and like you have to bow when you meet him or whatever, like, gone. But yes, no, back in reality, no one will be fired. Nothing will happen. Everyone will forget about this. Moving on, issue 2. Ukraine central bank is banning Bitcoin purchases made with the hyrvnia to prevent capital from fleeing the war-ravaged country. Yes, once upon a time we said Bitcoin was good for Ukraine, but now capital controls are back, restricting the Ukrainian people from purchasing more than $3,500 in Bitcoin with an attempt to keep money inside the country. Martine, this is a classic Bitcoin issue. What do you think about capital controls and Ukraine's attempt to control how their people can use their money?
I do understand the decision of the Ukrainian government to do this because money is leaving the country. I mean, you can't do much with the money there at the moment. So, what do people do? They want to change it to a foreign currency. Which foreign currency? Well, Bitcoin, because Bitcoin was built for this. Personally, I'm against any form of capital controls, having lived in Nigeria for 4 years, where it was very common that you couldn't spend the rate was fixed and there was always a problem getting money in and out of the country. I don't think, this money should be free and oil to lubricate the economy and instead of a political weapon. But I do understand the Ukrainian government because before you know it, there's nothing left. So they do want you to send Bitcoin there so they can use it to buy stuff, but you cannot buy Bitcoin there. So that, no. It's wrong. Capital gains controls are wrong, in my opinion. But and I totally understand the people living there that they want to get their money out. And this is why I think it's important to put your money in Bitcoin before problems start. We've seen this in Lebanon. When once the hyperinflation started, people were unable to change their local currency into Bitcoin, while the clever ones already moved all their money into Bitcoin before the problem started. And they are like, they now have 5 times the amount of money than when the problem started. But while the rest is just, bad. It's really bad for the people. And Bitcoin was built for this exact reason, to give people an option. If your government is incapable of having a proper monetary policy, or there's other things like war, or maybe they're just corrupt like other countries, then people have plan B. This is what Bitcoin is designed for. And I think, you can prohibit trade of Bitcoin. On the other hand, you can't stop peer-to-peer, deals from going on. But if you look at the Ukrainian cities right now, I don't think there's any. It's not on their top priority list to do peer-to-peer Bitcoin trading. If literally Russian bombs are everywhere. So sad situation for everyone involved, really.
Who will set up the mesh network? But yes, I agree with Martine. It's a disaster. The government has to do what they're trying to do. They have to try to keep the money in the system. However, people do have, for the first time, a real opportunity with Bitcoin to get their money out. It would have been better to do it 2 weeks ago. It would have been better to do it 2 weeks before that. But if they've waited this long and they finally lost faith and realized that there's nothing to buy in Ukraine, unfortunately, so there's no reason to keep your money there, they're probably going to be successful in getting it out in Bitcoin. However, the more they have in the bank, the less they're going to get out, 3,500 at a time. Dan, Eve, what do you think about the Ukrainian government suddenly banning Bitcoin?
Well, and as Martin said, it's the perfect use case, isn't it? It's it's the ability to be able to transact internationally and not be stuck within your country. And I don't agree with capital controls, because capital flight happens for a reason. So if you don't want it, then you should handle the economy better. Obviously, in this instance, there's nothing they can do. But people probably want to. One of the reasons they want to buy Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies is because, if you think about like in Fight Club, where the isn't it like the credit card companies, they blow them up so that the records go. So imagine if you're you're a millionaire on paper or just whatever your savings are, and the bank gets blown up or whatever, and the records go, then at least if it's in Bitcoin, then it's immutable, right? And that record is kept all around the world. So there's probably a lot of people wondering whether they'll ever be able to access their funds again, or how long it will take because of the infrastructure that's been blown apart by the Russian forces. So it's kind of not just a hedge against inflation or anything like that, but it's also a hedge of being able to actually, or not a hedge, but a security measure to keep your money as your money and know how much money you have and be able to look at it on a blockchain. But your bank site might be down because of whatever sort of air raids are going on. So yeah, it's sad that they're putting security controls on it, and that limit of 3.5K. But it's kind of the general thing that governments do when money is leaving. And what was it? Their GDP is down like 45% or something, which is a huge drop, and that's really going to have ripples for a long time in the country. So yeah, it's sad, but at the same time, they've got to kind of put put a protection measure in, right, to stop that capital from leaving in an extreme circumstance that we're in right now. So although it's bad, and I definitely disagree with it, I understand why they're doing it, because they're trying to do damage control. It's kind of like when a proper hardcore event happens and they stop trading on the trading floor, right? You just kind of do damage control, wait until everything's settled a bit. But this is the financial equivalent,
which they shouldn't do anyway, and is wrong. Also, the market should be open on weekends. What are you supposed to watch on TV if the markets are closed? And as the libertarians say, government's got a government, right? That's what they do. They're government. Moving on to the exit question, capital controls and the media. We, on the Bitcoin group, are aware of the duality of Bitcoin. You can donate Bitcoin to the Ukrainian government, to the rebels. But Bitcoin also allows Russian oligarchs to move their money. Bitcoin will allow the Ukrainian people to move their money out of the bank, but it'll crush their banks and their systems. It's almost like the honey badger of Bitcoin doesn't care. How soon will the media come to grips to the reality that they have been promoting this pirate currency, this nihilistic currency that doesn't care if it's promoting terrorism, kidnapping, open financing, schools, hospitals, people making millions of dollars? Martine Wismar, Crypto NBC, talks about crypto every day. Do they realize that it's a pirate currency destroying the government's ability to control money, to control the travel of money, to control the creation of money? All of these fantastic tools of power destroyed by this rebel Bitcoin, even if you call it crypto, right? It's still there, right?
Thomas, the internet was, once like the World Wide Web launched, it gave everybody the tools to broadcast and broadcast their opinion. Not at first, but eventually we had tools like YouTube, we had Zoom, Twitter, social media. So it made the people in power before the World Wide Web a little bit less powerful, because they had to actually watch what they were saying, and because otherwise there would be an angry mob online. Unfortunately, the real power is the monopoly of money, basically by central banks. And Bitcoin fixes this. Bitcoin, just like the internet took away a little bit of power of information monopoly from the people that had it. Well, and not so much in the US, but many other countries just had state TV. And if it was on state TV, it had to be true. If it wasn't on state TV, then, well, it wasn't on TV. So now those, especially the countries where that was the case, had to be had problems adjusting to the new normal, like, social media and everybody having a voice and a camera in their pocket. The internet, however, missed this payment layer, and Bitcoin is that payment layer. Is that basically does the same. It breaks down the monopolies of money creation. So it brings back money to the people. It should have always been like that, but over the past 50 years, we've seen that money more often than not is used as a weapon to exclude certain people from society and to wage war against others. So by taking away this power, this monopoly on the creation of money, we're basically taking away some of their power. And I think this is fantastic. It might not be in some cases, but in general, if you look at the big picture, this can only be good for the world. Pirate, maybe just look at me. I'm your central banker now.
Perhaps pirates, perhaps rebels. It's tough to say. Dan, Eve, they had an entire convention in Miami, a giant exhibition hall dedicated to this Bitcoin, this crypto, this pirate rebel currency designed to upend the world of monetary controls. Will the media wake up to what they're doing? They're pulling the Trojan horse inside, and we're watching it live. We have this live camera of the Trojan horse going inside the gates, and everybody on our side is like, that horse is full of Trojans, right? It's full of Greeks, right? That's a Trojan horse. It was their walls, but it's full of Greeks waiting to come out and wreck the financial system. But you're on Crypto NBC, and they told you to talk good about Bitcoin. Dan, Eve, what will happen to these people? When will they realize what they're doing?
Well, I think there's, the opinion on Bitcoin does seem to be very much centered, or it echoes around what the political sort of sources that you're reading from, right? So you find that often something that's environmentally based will attack specifically the environmental side of Bitcoin. If it's to do with general politics, like you've seen, the left and right divide, there's certain articles about how Bitcoin is used by the alt-right, or it's like an alt-right thing, right? So there's a tendency to just pick whichever thing is like the evil in this political spectrum, and then pick on a part of Bitcoin that's for that. But like with anything with not necessarily free speech, but an opinion, right? There's another side to an opinion. So whilst there's a lot that you can say about the bad side of Bitcoin, that it can be used for nefarious things, again, it's just, we go back to this time and time again, it's just a tool. You can use a hammer to, you're not going to ban all hammers, because some people use it to hit someone around the head because it's a really, really good tool at getting a freaking nail in, right? That's the best thing about a hammer, right? And the thing about Bitcoin is it is apolitical, even though you can kind of pick a side with it and try and kind of jimmy it into whichever political part you are. The point of the Bitcoin is that it is apolitical, and it takes the power out of specific governments. That's why lots of governments also fear it, but they also think, that it's a very powerful tool, right? But they fear it in the sense that it's going to take power away from their local currency, as we've just discussed with Ukraine, and saying, that capital flight is going into Bitcoin. It's not even going into another currency. It's not like it's going into the dollar or it's going into something else. It's literally, they haven't turned around and said, I'm not aware of, that you can't sell more than $3,500 of your Ukrainian money for I don't know, for drachmas, or do they even exist? Is that the Greek one? I don't know. But another currency, euros, for example, they've picked on Bitcoin specifically. Whilst also it's obviously a bit contradictory that they're accepting crypto donations. So I don't know. At the end of the day, Bitcoin is a tool, and it's a very powerful tool. It's money, and it's indiscriminate money. Now, how you use that money will probably follow some political path, but Bitcoin itself isn't the political tool. It is something that can be used by anyone for anything, and that's the glory of it. Glory of the Bitcoin.
One day they'll make a hammer so big it will destroy them all. Moving on, check out WCN Clips, now celebrating our 100th subscriber. We have 100 subscribers who searched on Google WCN Clips and pushed subscribe on YouTube. We've got all kinds of great videos from the World Crypto Network cut up into clip form on WCN Clips. Issue 3, Bitcoin hodlers clenching their money bags even as stocks plunge is remarkable, says Analyst. And I think this issue ties well into the other issues. It's almost as if Bitcoiners know something about the Bitcoin that they've been reading about and watching videos and listening to podcasts. And all of these years, what we've been talking about, it seems like a little bit more than a get-rich-quick scheme. It seems like when it changes capital controls, when it changes the political power of money, that it might not just be something that you sell when it goes down and buy when it goes up, as the media's backwards understanding of how to make money on stocks and new inventions continually comes back to. Martine Wishmayer, what do these Bitcoiners know about the HODL? What do they know more than these stock peoples? And again, HODL does not mean hold on for dear life, although we think that's funny. It's a misspelling of the word hold, and it's a simple trading strategy where you think Bitcoin's valuable, so you hold it. Martine Wismayer, why can't the media understand this? Why can't they understand how wrong they've been this whole time?
Well, it looks like many of those, and including the media that look at Bitcoin, not crypto. Crypto is also including the shitcoins, but look at Bitcoin from a distance. They constantly compare it to the fiat value. Oh, the Bitcoin is so and so much dollars. So there's so and so much euro. The Bitcoin is down, compared to the dollar. But many Bitcoiners, after a while, maybe at first they go in looking at potential fiat profits, but after a while they're like, I don't really care. It is the amount of Satoshis and the amount of Bitcoin I have that is really important. And the current value, in the long run, if you zoom out, then 4 or 5 years, the price will always go up. It's like, if history is a lesson here, media still calls it a bubble, but tell me, any bubble that lasts for 12 years now? I mean, that's not a bubble, that's a new asset class. And I think many of the Bitcoiners, the real hodlers here, they're not in it for a quick gain. They see this is their plan B. This is they're building generational wealth. It's wealth that they will pass on to their children and their grandchildren, and they will use that as collateral to get a fiat loan if that is still needed by then, but not to sell. I mean, this is not why we're in Bitcoin. Personally, I'd never sell unless I really need to pay for something in fiat, but then I'll look at other options to see if I can take out a loan with Bitcoin as collateral, or get finance in another way. Just selling Bitcoin is just like wrong. You hodl. It's not just a word, Thomas. It's a lifestyle.
And what's so amazing about it is how it's just developed over time. people believed in Bitcoin. It's kind of like if you take the Bitcoiners thesis, and what if the Bitcoiners were right about everything? And I know everyone's like, no, that couldn't be. All the smart people on CNBC told us it was bullshit. They said it was rat poison. They went through all this great stuff about how bad the Bitcoin was. But if you look back from the beginning, you're like, we have this collectible item. There's only 21 million of them. You can split them up into smaller pieces. And if you buy a bunch now, it's almost like you own a piece of the machine. You own real estate. You own the bank of the Monopoly game. And every time people use the bank, you'll get a little bit of value. More importantly, these collectibles that you've purchased, it seems like they would go up over time. They're making less and less collectibles because they're not minting Bitcoin. The reward goes down. The block halvening happens every 4 years. And all of this was there in the very beginning. Like you could have gone whole hog crazy into Bitcoin just in case it became a big deal. And some people did, and other people bought and sold, and ups and downs and all those things. But that general idea that the Bitcoiner thesis could be entirely correct, they still refuse to accept or even allow as a possibility. So we get articles like this where they're like, why are these people not selling? Dan, Eve, why are they not selling? Why are the hodlers still holding on?
One thing I do wonder is because shares have always before Bitcoin, I was trading shares, and shares bored me because they were a long term thing, right? You could try and do which I tried for a while and always managed to pick the wrong things, but like wait for results day, right? So buy before results day and just 50-50, is it gonna fly or die? When if they produce bad results, try and look at kind of performance of whatever sales it is, and that was the quickest way you could try and make short-term gains. And then obviously I came across spread betting and what's it called, and contracts for differences, so you could make money using smaller amounts and a lot quicker, much bigger gains a lot quicker. So stocks have always been traditionally long term. So I do wonder how much analysis has been done to show how much of a hodl culture there is in existing stocks, right? Because people hold stocks for a while. They're not just overnight. You think about especially funds that buy stocks for pensions and stuff like that. They keep them for years and years. So I'd be interested to see the stats. I mean, for the Bitcoin in this article, I think it was like 64% of 64% hasn't moved in over a year, despite all the price movement. So I would like to see at some point some traditional analysis on stocks to see how much of a hodl culture is there, and whether it's just something that the Bitcoin community kind of ran with, because of funny little memes. But ultimately, you've got to. I think the thing about the Plan B meme, I think we're past that now. And I think for many people, it's Plan A. Like there's no Plan B because there's no alternative. Bitcoin is the Plan A. Like there's before it was an alternative that was kind of a logical step. Now it's like the only logical step. There's no other, in my mind, there's no other route. There's no point in stacking dollar when they're printing it, $12 trillion in the last year or two or whatever it is. Plan A is Bitcoin. It's as simple as that. So I think the hodl culture is only growing stronger and stronger because of the way the global markets are going and because of all the uncertainty in the world. So yeah, I think fair beans for hodlers for getting it right. And kudos to you if you had loads of stacks of Bitcoin, you weren't Doge Rain type giving it out, going to all friends when you're I stupidly did, I'll give you just 50 quid of Bitcoin, and back in 2013 and just dishing it out like nobody's business. So fair play to you for holding it, and for hodling, because that's the Plan A.
Exit question: will we see a complete shift in media coverage from the current coverage where they mock Bitcoiners with either hodler as just a very juvenile meme, whether it comes from the drunken post where he misspelled it, or if it comes from people saying, hold on for dear life, which allows the media to say, oh, Bitcoin's a cult, and people are holding on because of their emotions or because of their drunkenness. They are drunken, emotional Bitcoiners with the dark triad and all of that. And that's why they're holding Bitcoin, not because it's a thesis or a philosophy, not because they looked at the conditions and they analyzed the situation and they think, yeah, putting your money into Bitcoin is kind of your best option, especially with inflation, especially with capital controls, especially with all of these other things. You open the paper today and it's like, oh, there's inflation. And you flip the page, like, there's capital controls. And you're like, wouldn't people want this Bitcoin? And then they're like, it's remarkable that they're clenching their bags. Martine Wishmayer, will they completely switch over like analog to digital? Will this be a laughing joke of the past?
Thomas, I'm not sure. I can only, if I look from my own perspective, I dismissed Bitcoin at first. My biggest mistake, I think, the first time I heard about it, I thought the idea was nice, but it was user-generated money, so it was worthless, and I thought that would never fly. It was only after I tried it that I thought, it changed my mind. I thought, hey, this is programmable money, peer-to-peer. This is amazing. And only then I learned more and went down the rabbit hole, started programming on it, but only the click only happened once I tried it. And I think many of the journalists writing about Bitcoin, or don't dare to say it, crypto, they have never, ever touched a Bitcoin wallet. They've never done any transaction. So as long as they haven't, they will not really understand the power of Bitcoin. While, if you already see reports, I read this week that, one of the major US bank, bank said, Lightning Network on Bitcoin is actually more efficient and works better than a Visa or MasterCard transaction. It doesn't require a whole bunch of servers in the background. It's just like quick peer-to-peer payment, and it works. And I think people don't realize that enough, and especially the reporters. Why publish something about Bitcoin price that goes up? And you could probably get more clicks if you said Bitcoin is dead again. It's dead. It's over. It's all over now. And because secretly inside, they feel that they might, they knew about it, they didn't buy any, and now they're regretting it. So just kick it in that case. And I think this is what's happening. I don't think they'll ever change their opinion, but it doesn't matter for us. I don't consider myself part of a cult. If I want to be part of a crazy cult, I can join Scientology or something. But instead, I believe in sound money, and I think Bitcoin is sound money. Yeah.
Well, and I think one of the main keys there that Jack Mallers keeps saying over and over again on the news to these people is that Bitcoin is a settlement layer, that it actually settles the debt. Like when I send you the $10 in Bitcoin, it's sent, it's done. When I use my credit card at your store, it's not settled at all. Some of the credit card machines don't even report in till the end of the day, so the transactions are all batched together. Then, like we all know, as Bitcoiners, as eBayers, as internet people, they can always pull that back and cancel the credit card transaction, even months or years later. Whereas Bitcoin is totally different. You actually spend the money. This is revolutionary for credit card people. This is a complete different system. And it's not just that it's internet money or whatever. It's that settlement action. It's that you actually get the money. Dan Eve, why does the media continue to misunderstand Bitcoin? Will they suddenly flip someday like a switch and stop this nonsense?
Well, we're all news, as we know. Unfortunately, tragedy sells, headlines. Like, sex sells and death sells, right? There's no like lovey-dovey, joyous headlines, or at least there's hardly any of them. It's all about a bombing that's happened somewhere, or something that's happened somewhere, or something that's going wrong. It's all about stuff that's going wrong and bad things. People, for some reason, have this awful fetish with just reading about bad things, and the fact is that it gets the headlines, right? Shock things get the headlines. You don't get kind of a shock factor with happy stuff, right? It's a weird thing, and so it's easier to write and talk about that than to talk about something positive that's happening with Bitcoin. But I think there's Bitcoin's being put through tests as it goes on in terms of, and these are public tests in terms of how it's a protective measure against protecting your money against the world. So not just hedging against inflation, but protection against capital controls and stifling your ability to move your money around. It's protection against, as you've said about using non-settlement layers, like having to use credit cards and having a lag in when your transactions are actually finally settled. So it's instant, and it's instant transaction settlement. Obviously, you got to wait for confirmations, for example, but it's much better than the current system of credit cards. So I think they will be turning around, but it's that everyone has to reach that epiphany level, and everyone has their own epiphany level, and Bitcoin touches so many different areas. It just takes a while for people to switch around, and we're seeing it as a domino effect from banks to news reporters. They're slowly realizing what the benefits are of Bitcoin and why it overpowers the negative side. And it's just the same as any technology, right? It's the same as suddenly realizing that actually the internet's not all bad because it can be used for X, Y, and Z, even though people can send dick pics over it. Why not, though? It's good for dick pics. What can I say?
And maybe someday the media will even realize that the price of Bitcoin could just keep going up. It's entirely possible that the price of Bitcoin just keeps going up. Moving on to our next story, issue 4. Bitcoin price hovers around $41,000 on a 3-day rise. Everything's going to be great. Bitcoin, Ethereum drop as stocks face selling pressure amid a more hawkish Fed. The Federal Reserve might not be raising interest rates as high as they said they were going to, and the stock market is down as a result. Suddenly, Bitcoin and Ethereum and other so-called inflation risk assets are now being sold. Martin Wishmayer, the price of Bitcoin is down, yet I just told you that the price of Bitcoin would never go down. What is going on with Bitcoin and the stock market?
Well, Thomas, when in doubt, just zoom out. Over the course of a few years, you'll definitely see the Bitcoin price go up. What's so strange is Bitcoin is fairly new, basically. It's 12 years old, and even though we see it as a risk-off asset, meaning it's a hedge against inflation and other problems, it's currently being treated by investors as a risk-on asset. So whenever there is problems and the stocks go down, you'll see that Bitcoin will go down too. On the other hand, I wouldn't worry too much, because in the long run, we know it's a risk-off asset, and the price will continue to go up. But for now, it will just go up and down until it goes up again. I predict it will not last too long, and every time there is a dip, for us, it's a buying opportunity. So just hodl.
Well, I just think it's a great thing that we have this Federal Reserve that puts out these cryptic messages about whether the rate's going to go up or down, and then the whole market freaks out about whether it's going to go up and down, and all kinds of people get to make money off that. And they've really done a great job flattening out the economy, as their goal was when they started in the 20s. And I just think it's fantastic that we have something like the Federal Reserve around to fix the economy. Dan, Eve, what about the Bitcoin price? Why does it keep going down when the stocks go down? I thought there were only 21 million. I thought we were going to be billionaires.
Because some people like to take profit. Some people like to panic, right? That's what's unfortunately people do.
Those non-hodlers, those non-hodling bastards, not believing in pirate currency. Who's the captain now? Who's the captain?
there's not enough people like me who sell low and buy high. Which is definitely the way to drain your cash. But these price movements are good for Bitcoin, and they're good for Bitcoin because it keeps Bitcoin in the limelight continuously. Like, there's probably no other asset class that just gets talked about the price across so many different like publications, daily, that just have something to do with the Bitcoin price. Probably more than like the Nasdaq, for example. So it keeps Bitcoin in the limelight continuously. Now, I never was, in terms of trading, I was never kind of a technical trader. I always, and dare I say it, I always thought it was a bit of an astrology type thing, right? That people kind of remember the wins and forget the losses. Like if you could kind of pump out all these predictions and people kind of forget the ones where you failed, like a psychic, for example, and they're like, they only like remember the think times when you're like, oh yeah, he definitely said that, it was a Gladys with a so and so, and they remember the winning sort of predictions. But the double top thing, well, I'm goated out by this because I always thought that a double top, perhaps anyone could advise on this, is that double top, like, the price is going to go down if the second top is lower. And if you look at the most recent chart, like we reached a second top that was higher. So surely I thought, that meant, we're still in this bull market. So I'm quietly optimistic that, and I think I did say last week, my prediction was price up, and it is, I think, price down. But obviously there's still lots of turmoil. There's no, Russia and Ukraine haven't sort of made up yet, and because that will make the markets pump, right? Let's face it, around the world, that's going to make all the stocks probably pump quite hard when there's a final peace treaty, or however, if that ends amicably, if that can be done. But yeah, like this double top thing, it's really confusing me. I think we must be still in a bull market. Fingers crossed.
Fortunately, Dan, we have the solution here. All of your triangles, your double tops, your dojis, and your hammer candles can be explained by the magical Bitcoin predictor ball, the seer of seers, prognosticator of prognosticators. But first, Dan, you must compete against the magical Bitcoin predictor ball. Will the price of Bitcoin be higher or lower this time next week?
I think, judging by the triangle I'm making right now on the chart, I think it's going to be higher.
Martin Wishmayer, higher or lower? Oh, he's muting. It's increasing the drama, increasing the drama.
I think a bit higher, not too much though. A little bit. I think maximum 10% higher, but
that's...
Yeah.
I like it.
Nothing but 10%. It's nothing at all. And now the ball. Will the price of Bitcoin be higher this time next week? Let's see. As I see it, yes. As I see it, yes. The Bitcoin ball has predicted the future. Remember, this is not financial advice. We also have an important message from the Las Vegas Strip. I was walking down the downtown. There it is. Look, they have their own Magic 8 Ball. It says, will I be successful? Not if you rely on a Magic 8 Ball. So there it is, direct from the street.
That is not the Bitcoin Magic 8 Ball. And I think there's a clear difference there. The Bitcoin Magic 8 Ball is the only investment advice you need on YouTube. Well, if it's one in the casino, of course it's rigged, the odds are stacked against you in the casino.
All of them, they just say gamble more. It says gamble more. Okay, gamble more. We're running out of time. We're moving on to predictions or story of the week. Dan, Eve, I know you're always ready. Predict the future. Do you have a prediction? What will happen next?
I predict that. Oh, okay. This is a topical one. I reckon it seems like I'm going to go for the Twitter based, the Elon Twitter kind of thing, because that's been a topic recently. So my prediction is that there's rumors that the existing shareholders, aren't they trying to pull this poisoning the well sort of thing? Is it where they try and evade a hostile takeover? So I think they're going to make a move. I think Twitter board is and those guys are going to make a move on the hostile takeover with Elon. So yeah, I'm going with something sensible this week.
Elon will fail. Martine Wishmayer, a prediction. Tell us about the future. Certainly we all know the Oakland A's are moving to Las Vegas. Many other things.
I predict the Bitcoin price in the long run will continue to go up. We'll see hit 1 million by the end of this decade. So we've got 4 years. Story of the week or just a prediction? I don't know. What were we doing?
All right. Story of the week. What have you got, Mark?
Story of the week. There's LibertyCon in Prague this weekend. So we'll be displaying our new BATM2 Ultra there, which is a new ATM model. I'm really curious what the crowd will say. There's lots of it's a libertarian conference. LibertyCon is quite often in Prague, I believe every year, and we're happy to sponsor it. There is some high profile Bitcoiners. The cryptocurrency is their topic for this year, so yeah, it just made sense for us to have a stand there. So that's my story of the week. But prediction. We will see those 6 zeros after the Bitcoin price within a few years.
Now that's a quality prediction. And boy, it would be great to be in Prague. Sounds like a fun Liberty Fest. It's a great city out there in Prague. Dan, Eve, are you ready with a story of the week?
No, I don't have one. My story of the week is that no, I don't have one. But yeah, that's
Boris Johnson getting rung up on the drink gate.
Oh, he's a
had
naughty
people
boy,
over to the house. Oh, they had drinking parties there.
I think there's a petition to ask them to stand down, right? They're like to resign. But yeah, I don't think he'll do it. I don't think he'll do it. He's not going to go, oh yeah, I've got people of petition, that's it, I give up. No, he'll be like, I'm prime minister, kick me out, screw you guys.
And it was a perfectly legal alcohol party, or actually it wasn't legal, it was illegal, but they were having alcohol, which is not illegal. So it is just a fascinating, it's a great scandal. It's like they stepped outside to smoke a cigarette and now you're going down. We gotcha. So that's been a good scandal. Also in the U.S., my prediction story of the week, I think it's been interesting. The January 6th committee is still starting to ramp up. They had a great example today where Kevin McCarthy said, oh, I never said that. They accused him of saying that the president should resign. He said he never said it. And then media came back the next day and they said, we have a tape. And I think that a lot of that's going to keep happening where they bait these people, they put the news out there and they deny it and they say, oh, I didn't do it. And then they have a tape. So
I have a tip for those politicians. Never say you didn't say that. Just say you don't have any active memories regarding that. So, even if I don't recall saying it. I have no active memories on this event. And then, you can always find your way out. Maybe if I had a back door, but you can always escape, dodge any problems then.
I'd like to see more politicians going with the insanity defense where it's like, I don't remember the things that happen to me. I don't remember the things that I say. I take action randomly. I'm just kind of a bizarre individual. Maybe you shouldn't be in such power over everyone then if you don't remember what happened and you can't form opinions and all these things. But it's going to be a great committee. I look forward to that. That's our story of the week. Thanks to everybody for watching the Bitcoin Brew Group. Be sure to give us a thumbs up down below, subscribe. We can get more subscribers. And until next time, bye.